this is Joe Biden. When Biden got into office, he said, we're not going to build one more foot of that wall. There was something like $1.3 billion, I think it was, that was appropriated in 2020 towards building that wall. There is a statutory obligation. Well, let's put it this way. The Biden at that time tried to redirect the border wall funding to essentially like more electronic stuff. It was nearly $2 billion actually now, or I'm sorry, 1.375 billion was going to be used to do alternative stuff at the wall.
Okay, but that initial border funding was not paid for by Mexico?
That was not paid for by Mexico.
Okay.
Just coincidentally, it was actually coming from our budget. And Biden tried to direct that border wall funding. Fifth Circuit judges stopped that, and it ultimately was reversed. He was found that he had to do it. However, there's a lot of regulations that were preventing him from doing it. And, here's his explanation.
I'll answer one question on the border wall. The border wall, the money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate, to redirect that money. They didn't. They wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use money for what it was appropriated. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
No.
So he doesn't believe it works, and good for him. But the tough thing to square here is the idea that they had to waive these regulations. I mean, I don't know that he could have ever reappropriated that money, but he certainly could have allowed it all to be tied up in the courts. And
he's acting like his hands are tied, but they actively made a decision on his Department of Homeland Security waived those, 24 or more environmental protective orders, essentially, and allowed for the construction. That's an active choice.
It's an active choice, and we should be clear that this comes amidst a lot of pressure that he was getting from Pritzker in Illinois, Massachusetts Democrats, Hochul and Adams in New York, basically saying you got to do something. And this is they responded in about as cowardly way that you could. I mean, because ultimately, and we'll talk to Perrine about this a little bit, there is no impetus within the Democratic Party, it seems to me, to articulate a proactive policy here. They're always on their heels in terms of talking about this. And
they've ceded the entire framing around the border to the right. I mean, the only person who's speaking out about this in a way that's constructive right now, who's like prominent in the Democratic Party, is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah. She's just pointing out that continued even Biden says there that it doesn't work.
Right.
But he's doing it because of that pressure. But then the point is, come up with a counter narrative. Talk a bit about how we continued basically policing and border militants is actually counterproductive. We had times in our history when there was a much more fluid border, and the crime that they're discussing here is a result of the fact that we've forced these people to go underground when they're trying to migrate to this country. If we had a system of asylum and essentially just saying, hey, if you register, you'll have a court date, we'll figure this kind of thing out, it would just be a lot more common sense and easier. But instead, the right wants to demonize a certain group of people and also create leverage over undocumented workers in certain work environments, using the threat of deportation and things like that against them so they can pay low wages and cut corners.
Right. And I think, the thing that I think is doing that is helpful is that AOC is making the point that, we're resuming deportation flights of Venezuelans. There's total upheaval in that country, just as like there, has been in Central America, and largely as a function of our policies. It is amazing that we can see news reports that will say migrants coming because of instability in their countries, because of dangers in their countries, and then not in any way circle that, sort of tie that back in to what we can do from a policy perspective.
Yeah. I mean, 2019 Economist headline, Juan Guaido and Donald Trump are betting that sanctions will topple the regime before they starve the Venezuelan people.
Yeah.
I mean, can we draw some conclusions?
So why are Venezuelans coming? Why are Haitians coming? We had Brian Concanon on yesterday to talk about Haiti and how Biden is and the the Biden administration and Blinken, they don't want a Ariel Henry to leave office in Haiti, even though he hasn't been elected after the assassination of Moise, because they have a relationship with Henry, and Biden's worried domestically about more Haitian migrants coming over here, but maybe don't prop up an unelected leader in Haiti, and people want to remain home. They're fleeing from horrible political situations. It's so silly.
And I think the vacuum that is created when the Democrats just simply respond when the right-wing pressure becomes too much and essentially do a right-wing light. That vacuum is, and Matt made this point before the program, is very similar in where we were in the early aughts in terms of abortion. Obviously, like there's a slightly different dynamic in terms of like the Supreme Court making abortion legal. But the point is that a proactive immigration reform set of policies that were articulated that go beyond you shouldn't just cage people would provide the sort of the foundation for an administration to fight back in moments like these.
Right.
But it doesn't exist. So, but we'll talk more about that with Alex Perrine in a bit. First, a couple words from our sponsors.